Hey everybody, welcome into the latest live stream. My name is Kerry Holzman. Thank you for joining me. Let me just make sure everybody can see and hear me okay. Hello to everybody in the chat room. I see a few of my moderators in there, Douglas Biggers, Stuart Bonneville. Hey guys, thank you so much for keeping the peace in the chat room today. Lately it's just go, go, go. So many projects, so many people needing help, just wanted me to do it all. Well, I suppose it keeps me from being bored. Okay, let's see, let me get this out of here, put this over here. All right, now, what I have for you today on the menu, as I keep straightening things up, I'm in such a hurry. I'm just not quite ready to go live when I go live, so I apologize for that, but that's a one-man band for you. That's a one-man operation. Gotta do everything. Everything. Okay. Let's turn this on. All right, so what I've got right back here, this is a system I built in December of 2014. And the customer's happy with it, but he wants more power, more speed. And this is a Gigabyte Z97X Gaming 5, which does have an M2 that we're not using, but it's only a 10 gig per second M2, which means that it's ×2 instead of ×4. So the read and write speeds on it doesn't matter how fast of an NVMe drive you get, you're gonna see about 800 megabytes per second. So compared to normal SATA, it's just maybe 50% faster. If we upgrade the motherboard to a newer generation of chipset, then we can go, sky's the limit, you know, with regards to putting an NVMe drive in there and going 3,000 plus megabytes per second. Now the customer purchased a 2 terabyte hard drive and simply wants, well, this is interesting. Customer purchased a 2 terabyte black hard drive and was talking about moving the operating system to it, but that would be a big mistake. It's been such a long time since I've seen this system, well, over 4 years, 4.5 years. I have no idea how it was configured, but I can see now there's 2 solid state drives in here. And he's an avid photographer. You know, he'll go out for a weekend in the forest and come back with 3,000 pictures. So that's just one weekend. So he's running out of space rapidly. I think the customer did tell me if I see anything that should be upgraded to let him know. I've got a week to get this thing finished. So I think I'm gonna recommend a new motherboard and processor. We can probably continue to use the same RAM. He's got a GTX 970, which is just fine. There's no reason to replace that. In a CX 750 modular power supply, also just fine. No need to replace that either. So I don't know. What do you guys think? What would you do if this was your client? I was under the impression that he was booting from a mechanical drive, like a 1 terabyte mechanical drive, that he ran out of space and that he needed another drive. But it looks like he may have a 1 terabyte or maybe smaller SSD. I'm not sure until I get it booted up. He's got no complaints with the system. It's been running rock solid. He's never had a problem with it. And that's why I've gone so long without seeing it, because he's never had a problem with it. And that's the key to staying in business, because the profit margins are so low. If you go back because you didn't do something right the first time, or you bought cheap parts, you end up with an upset customer and struggling to maintain a income for your business. So I'm proud of that, and it's a lesson I'm trying to carry over in my videos for anybody thinking of doing this business. The way you make more money isn't by selling cheaper parts. That's how you lose money. So yeah, is it DDR3 or DDR4? That's a good question. If it is DDR3, we will have to replace it. Let's find out what this thing is. Let's get it booted up and see what's in here exactly. It could very well be DDR3, and that's a very good point. It is a Z97 board, which was sort of like the first series Intel chipset that had M2 slots on the board, as I recall. I could be wrong, but as I recall, That's the way it was. I've already taken the side panel off and I've already blown the dust and dirt out of it. This will be the first time I've turned it on. I just got back from driving across town to pick it up, and traffic is insane. I guess nobody has a job. That's the only thing I can figure. Nobody works anymore. Let's get this monitor plugged in. Just crazy amount of cars on the road. Just freeway was all back. In fact, I didn't even take the freeway back. The freeway had 3-4 mile backup, just solid cars at 11 o'clock in the morning. It's just weird. I gotta get out of this town. It's crowded and people are just pushy and yeah, not good. Not good. I need to take let me take care of something here. Give me just a second. There is on my kitchen floor, I have a dead scorpion, so I need to pick that up. I better make sure he's dead. Yeah, he's definitely dead. And let's get that flushed away. Welcome to the desert. You don't want to step on one of these. These are called bark scorpions, and they're the nastiest, most painful scorpions. And just one more reason I don't like living in the desert. If you get a cat, cats are immune to the scorpion sting, and cats will play with them and eat them. But I still don't want a cat. All right, let's take a look. Let's get this booted up. Now, once again, I like to stand in front of the screen on a first boot up because I want to make sure that the customer's information is hidden. For all I know, he could have a password anyway. I have no idea, but it should boot up relatively quickly with the Samsung SSD. I know he's got a Samsung in there. He might have two. Looks like we're running Windows 7 here, which means we'd have to bump him to Windows 10. Just for compatibility reasons. I don't want to go through all that work to, yeah, he does have a password. Gosh darn it. Okay. So I'm going to have to reach out to him and find out what that password is. So we'll just shut this back down. But we can go into the BIOS and we can see, you know, what the specifications are in the meantime. And I'll have to get on the phone with him and find out. You know, customers, they turn their machines on, they log into them every day. You think they would know if they have a password that they need to tell that to the technician? It never, ever occurs. Well, I won't say never. This happens, there's more times where I get a computer with a password where the customer never said anything about a password, even though it's very obvious. They have to do it every single time. That happens more than people going, hey, you better have my password. That's all right. It's just part of what comes along with the tech, and it's my fault. As a tech, I should know to ask for it. But if I haven't figured that out by now. All right. Yeah, let's go into BIOS and see what we got in here. May even be a new BIOS, too. All right, so let's go to advanced. Where's advanced? A Z97X Gaming 5 version of the BIOS is F5. He's got an Intel Core i7 4790 running at 3.6 gigahertz. And the amount of RAM that he has, total memory size, 32 gigs. Yeah, that's going to be expensive if it's DDR3. But what are you going to do? Previous values, classic mode. Oh, we're in advanced mode now. Memory. Oh, XMP is disabled. I wonder why. It's 1600 speed memory. Let's escape. Escape. Why is this not working? Save and exit. Save and exit. Save and exit. Okay. It's not a 4790K, it's a 4790. If it was a K, I would have said it was a K. It's kind of how this works. Okay, so let's let this boot back up one more time, and then I'll shut it back down, and then we'll have a little, you and I will have a little chat, and then I'm probably going to have to put you on an intermission so I can call the client and find out what the client wants, how the client wants me to proceed. Because if we're going to replace motherboard, RAM, CPU, M.2, then that's going to cost a lot of money, and I need to get parts ordered pronto so I can get this, have the parts arrive and still have time to do the work before the customer gets back next week. So that's what's going on there. And let's see. Yeah, that's the machine. Nice cable management in there, right? All right, now, by the way, even if you have a K-series processor, there's no need to overclock it. All K-series processors are 10% faster. There's actually 3 differences between a K-series and a non-K series. One of them, of course, is that it's unlocked. The other one is that it runs 10% faster just out of the box. So if you just don't even overclock it, if you want the fastest chip you can buy and run it stock, then you want a K-series Intel processor. And these people with too much time on their hands who measure their performance on frequency are living in the 80s and the 90s. Frequency doesn't matter much in PC performance anymore. So they can have their little victories and deal with their consequences of struggling to get these very minor achievements that they like to go online and brag about. You won't maintain a business that way. That's not practical. No business will ever pay you as a technician to do that. So enjoy your hobby, but it's extraordinarily impractical and a complete waste of money, in my opinion. If you're not making money from it, then the least you can do is have a strong, reliable computer that you can turn on and not spend hours and hours and hours fine-tuning to get it there. And so you just run it stock, you're good to go. Invest your money in things that actually make a difference in performance, like an NVMe drive, like adding more RAM, like having a better graphics card, and you know, join the real world instead of these guys that just play in their homes and tweak around with their computer because they've got nothing else better to do. And then they strongly advise other people to do it, which is just really weird. Basically, I'm all for running a business and letting you guys know if you want to be a tech, what you can expect, the kind of work you can expect to have to do. And it won't be that. Nobody's going to pay you for that. Okay, now, any questions in the chat that I can address? Otherwise, I'm going to have to take a break here and talk to the customer. Does the motherboard have a free PCIe by 4 slot? Yeah, we're only using 1 slot for the graphics card. There's no other cards in there. Potentially we could add, it's true, we could add an adapter card. That's a good idea. That's from Error 1812. Adding an M.2 slot is cheaper for sure, and it's UEFI, so we should be able to boot to it. But on the other hand, the machine is from 2014, December of 2014. We haven't quite hit December of 2018 yet, but we're getting real close. So about 4 years old, which is right on the cusp of upgrade time. My concern is the 32 gigs of memory. That'll be about $300 to replace that in DDR4. Hi, Carrie. This is from iHydra Gaming. I finally decided to stop buying canned air, and instead I replaced them with a CompuCleaner electric air duster. Works much better. Wished I bought it sooner. Yeah, and I hate that people call it canned air, because you know that can doesn't contain air. It contains a chemical that's not good for the environment, a chemical that if you tilt the can and it comes out as liquid, it can actually damage the paint on the computer. It can cause third-degree burns on your skin from the cold. And of course, as you continue to squeeze that chemical out of the can gets colder and the pressure starts to go away. And the cans are about $6 each, and a leaf blower is just more economical, it's faster, and it's more consistent with regards to the amount of pressure coming out of it. So yeah, good for you. Any kind of a blower, a leaf blower, a data vac, any of that stuff. You just don't want to vacuum it out, you want to blow it out. And these devices often, the vacuums usually have a blow setting. If it doesn't, then I wouldn't use it on a computer. But seems like what he's using it for is good, maybe just the adapter until he wants to build a new PC. Yeah, I think I'm with you guys on here. PCI to M.2 NVMe adapters are achievable. Yeah, it would be. It absolutely would be. I'd still like to get him into a more modern machine, though there's nothing wrong with this one. That's why I have to talk to the client. Donnie Seegers contributed $2. Thank you, Donnie. Donnie says, my first processor was an AMD K6-2300. Yeah. He's primarily using this computer for video editing and photo editing, but not on the scale like I am. He's very mild video editing and just lots and lots and lots of photo editing. And one of these people that has, you know, so many photos. It's one of those days I'm going to organize it, and then he continues to add 3,000 more pictures at a time. So that's why he's got the memory card reader up front, because he's transferring those photos off as he's an amateur, pro-amateur photographer, I guess you might want to say. You can pull up the specs on the motherboard. It's a Gigabyte GA-Z97X Gaming 5. So if you want to go ahead and put the, go to Google, type that in, and you can look up the specs on the motherboard if you're curious how fast the M2 slot is or how fast the memory is. I'm fairly certain that's DDR3 memory. I really don't want to pull it out of there. But you guys can check if you're curious. In fact, if one of you wants to put a link to the motherboard, we can see the specs there for everybody. That'd be great. 32 gig DDR is around 212 to 230, not 300. Last I looked, 16 gigs runs about, so 2 sticks of 8 would run about $150, and you would need 2 of those. That would be $300. But perhaps if I was looking at 2 sticks of 16 or something like that, I'm not sure. We would definitely have to upgrade them to Windows 10 if we go with a modern motherboard and processor. Ryzen 5 will not be good enough for this guy. He would definitely need a Ryzen 7, potentially even a Threadripper, if he was willing to open his wallet up for it. That's the issue here. What's wrong with the PC? Nothing is wrong with it. He is running out of space for his photos. He was just wanting to add more storage, but also asked me to look at whatever would improve it. Would you use software to get into Windows if you couldn't get the password? Depends. In this case, I would, because I know the client. But if a client I've never worked with before did that, there's too much opportunity for theft. You know, I don't know that I'm working on a user's real computer, and if they don't know their password, it's on a case-by-case basis. So the hard drive we've got here is a Western Digital 2 terabyte, and I'm not sure why he only went 2. I think I recommended a 4 or a 6. So this is a client that isn't hard up for money, but doesn't like to spend it. And that's pretty common, but this is also something he says is very important to him. So, you know, we had this discussion that, you know, I kind of feel like you're saying it's important, but you really don't feel like it's important. You know, put some money into it and be done with it for a while, rather than putting nickels and dimes and stretching it out. You know, if we add a drive, then what's next? And every time I've got to go pick it up, it's a long drive. So I would prefer that somebody with his means has what he's going to be happy with. And, you know, when he bought this machine, he'd been talking about this for years. And then when he finally got it, he was just singing praises about how fast it was and how quiet it was. And he couldn't believe it. He didn't regret spending the money, and I don't think he would regret it now, but I will need to give him a call. Does he write it off on his taxes? Probably. I don't do his taxes, so I don't know. That's a very personal question to be asking. Recommend the CPU you have in your editing system. Well, right now on the streamer that I'm broadcasting to you with, that's the Ryzen 7 1700. I'm very happy with its performance, I have to say. Wouldn't he be better off using external drives for his pictures? He has a NAS, a network attached storage drive, which is intended to be where he offloads his pictures or keeps copies of his pictures. The problem with using external drives is many common end users, the typical end user, thinks of that as a backup, but it's still just one copy of your pictures. And that's so frustrating to me. Moving your data to an external drive is not a backup. Copying your data so that it exists in two places is a backup. So that would get really confusing for this gentleman if he were to start filling up his folder on his C drive and then moving that data over to an external and then finding another external to copy that without overwriting anything from another external and then differentiating which external has which data. That would get really, really messed up. So in this case, no, an external drive would be good for backups, for putting copies, but he doesn't even have room for originals. So you want at least 2 and preferably 3 or 4 copies of anything that's important to you. These photographs that he's taken will never be able to be recreated, never the same. They're Kodak moments, if you will. So if that's important to somebody, then they should file the data away accordingly, which means making duplicates. And like I said, what I see a lot of people do is they go, well, I bought the external drive and I put my data on it like everybody says, but now the external drive is dead. How do I recover my data? You should never be in a situation where data recovery is necessary. The fact that there are data recovery businesses flourishing in the world today shows you the ignorance that exists with regards to, most of the people say, I know I'm supposed to do it. Many say, I don't know how. Many say, I've never had a problem, so why should I bother? If people did what they're supposed to do, data recovery would not be a sustainable business, and there would be no such thing. So for that reason, yeah, I'm not going to even talk about external drives with him. All right, so anybody have any questions for me? I will be happy to answer. He wouldn't be able to use a cloud service for the amount of data that he has, for the internet service that he has at his home. He would never get it all uploaded. And for what it would cost him, it would not be a worthy investment for him. Mike Ladd says, Kerry, that A-Data drive I bought is great. I'll recommend them now, along with the Crucial MX series. Yeah, I'm very happy with the A-Data drives. So far, so good. We're off to a good start. Dave Murray says, as a photographer, I backed up all my photos on several hard drives all throughout my house, but unfortunately my house burnt down and I lost 16,000 photos. Yeah, I'm sorry that that happened, Dave. And I'm also sorry that I have to keep hearing this over and over and over again. I just don't have any sympathy for it anymore. There's so much empathy you can have, and after a while it's like, you know better. So, you know, you took your chances, and you're gonna suffer the consequences. And it sounds cold, but you know, gosh, it just all the time, it never stops, and everybody wants you to feel sorry for them. It's like, well, would you just listen? If it mattered that much to you, you would have listened. So it's hard to feel like it almost sometimes feels like I care more about a customer's data than they do. And it often is the case until the customer loses the data, and then the roles are reversed, and I care less because I warned them, they knew better. So, interesting way life works. As I previously said, I'm starting to figure out when I say things on YouTube, I have to say them 4 or 5 times, which is really frustrating. He has a NAS. He already has a NAS. He has a NAS. He has a NAS. A NAS he has. Are we clear? He has a NAS. He has a NAS at home. He has a NAS. There's a NAS in his house where he copies his pictures, but he needs to edit the pictures. And he's got stacks and stacks of pictures waiting and editing that are not yet ready to be moved to the NAS. So he needs more storage on the computer. Then, when those pictures are ready, he can move them to the NAS that he has. Okay. My God. All right, I'm going to take a break. We're going to go to an intermission. I don't know if I can reach the customer. Let me do that right now. I have a little behavior issue with one of my moderators that I need to talk about offline that doesn't need to be made public. And then I will be back shortly. So let's go to an intermission and then I'll be back. So hang in there. Okay, all right. Good news. Good news. Customer says it's getting 4 years old. It's time to replace it. Let's do it right. He says the most he has to wait is when rendering video, and it drives him a little crazy. He wants to upgrade his video card as well. I think this is a good time to buy a 1080 Ti. I know the prices will continue to go down, but I don't think it's worth waiting to have to drive the distance to pick his computer up and back and forth for labor for what he's gonna, he might save $150 if he waits a month. Catherine, is Catherine still in my chat? Let's get some ideas for what we should upgrade to this. He seems very willing to just order whatever I suggest. So I want to order him something that he's going to be impressed with. I'm thinking around a $1,500 budget, a 1080 Ti, at least the same 32 gigs of RAM, if not more, if it's affordable, and some kind of very powerful Intel processor. He, like many other customers that I have in business, don't want to risk with AMD issues of reliability and compatibility, although I think that's silly. He's the one spending the money and he wants Intel. So the question is, which Intel chip should we use? And he likes a quiet computer, so we don't want something that's going to generate a lot of heat that we have to add, liquid cooling onto, and that always adds noise unless we change the fans, and then things starts getting complicated. So I suppose a Hyper 212 Evo is always a good solution to that too. Something that's going to last a very long time, be reliable, be fast, and be something he can be impressed with. I got his password to log in while I was on the phone with him, and the two solid state drives, one of those solid state drives is a terabyte. And what he's doing is he likes to keep a year's worth of pictures on the local drive, and he doesn't have enough room for that right now. So my thought is we go with an NVMe 1 terabyte Samsung 970, and then we install this 2 terabyte mechanical drive. The other SSD he's using as an auto backup for Lightroom. I don't know, I've never used Lightroom. So that's the only sole purpose for the other SSD is for Lightroom to use. So we'll just leave that as is, and he'll have to go to Windows 10. There's no way I'm putting Windows 7 on anything this new. The Threadripper build was over $4,300, so he's not going to go for that. I'm estimating around $1,500. And again, he doesn't want AMD. An i5 will not be enough. Again, he's doing video rendering, and his main complaint is that the render time is taking too long. So he's going to need more cores, bigger caches, and a better video card to reduce those rendering times. I also think having the the Samsung NVMe drive will improve the rendering times as well. I don't think he's going to need to upgrade this power supply. He's got a 750M here, which is fine. The DVD drive can stay. We can reuse the case. We can reuse the memory card reader. So all that can stay. Yeah, Nick is saying Core i9 maybe. I'm thinking the same thing you are. We have to pull up a budget for that. But we don't have time to wait. It has to be done this week. So we have to order parts tomorrow or later tonight. So we can't wait. Yes, Tech Therapy says, since Adobe favors Intel, which is what he's using, Adobe products, probably the 8700K because iGPU boosts Adobe rendering immensely. Core i9 is going to be $1,200. So I can probably suggest it if it makes sense, or we just go with the top of the line Core i7. The chip I showed you yesterday, I think it's an i5, isn't it? Is it an i5 or an i7? The Intel 8086 anniversary chip. I can't even remember. It's so busy, I don't even know what I have anymore. Where is it? Oh, it is a Core i7. Yeah, okay. Core i7 limited edition. So the problem, yeah, we could do that. We could certainly do that. They're very hard to find, these chips. Amazon limits one of these per customer, done. I mean, you order one, you can, from what I can see on Amazon, you can never order another. It's not like you can order one at a time or one per day or one per week. You can only order one. But he's never ordered, so I mean, he could still get his hands on one if they're available. This clocks up to 5 gigahertz turbo. Yeah, I agree. The 8086 is more of a bragging rights chip for nerds than it is really, you know, except for people that want that magic 5 gigahertz turbo speed. And again, he doesn't care about any of that. He doesn't pay attention to his temps. He's a normal computer user. He's not looking at temps and he's not looking at frames per second. Nobody does that. Just the uber nerds, people with too much time on their hands do that. So, you know, real enthusiasts that are just, you know, care about these little teeny tiny details that most human beings would never notice. I mean, you guys sit there and talk about resolutions, but do you know what the resolution of the human eye is? Because I bet you don't. I see Brytech has joined us. Hey, Brytech, how are you? Yeah, he's going to need... God, it's just so frustrating when I feel like people are not listening to me. Yes, he's going to need new RAM. This is DDR3. As I said, he's got 32 gigs. It'd be nice to bump him to 64, but at the very least, we've got to give him what he had in DDR4 form, which would be a minimum of 32 and, you know, potentially 64, depending on what the total cost is with everything added up. So, a 1 terabyte Samsung 970 EVO, good Asus or Gigabyte board, 1080 Ti graphics card, and Windows 10. He's going to have Windows 10. Scotty's paying attention. Very good, Scotty. $32 gigs should run about $300. It's about $150 for 16 gigs of RAM right now. Well, 150 and up, depending on make and model and performance. We're not overclocking. We're not interested in that. And yeah, if we hit 2,500, you know, I'm estimating a bottom line of 1,500. I don't think it's going to be less than that. And yes, we can use his Windows 7 key to get him to Windows 10 for free. That shouldn't be a problem. But he's going to have Windows 10, which may be an issue for him. But I talked to him. He knows it's coming one way or another. It's just a matter of time. So, you know, we're no argument there from him. RAID 0 on 2 NVMEs. No, we're not going to do that for him. We want reliability. First and foremost, we need reliability. And we don't want a RAID 0 NVMe drives on a client's computer. Brian says he thinks he's going to build an AMD 2700X. Do it! G-Skill, 3200 megahertz for 309. You know, you didn't say how much memory. You just gave me the manufacturer and the speed and the price, but you didn't tell me what size and how many modules. I take it Dave was very pleased with his semi-new PC. I just heard from Dave today. Apparently he's missing some bookmarks or some favorites, but he should have them. So I need him to I'll log in remotely and have him show me where he's going to look for his favorites, because everything should have been copied. And if not, or whatever, I'll be able to hook up his old drives and pull that data and then upload it through the remote connection. It should not be a big deal, no big deal. Just surprised, that's all. Viking Tech says, yesterday's PC was RAID 0, right? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. $312 for 32 gigs of RAM. Yeah, that sounds about right. Pretty much goes right along with what I said, but thank you for confirming. Let's see. An Intel Core i7 8700K. Yeah, we're not overclocking. We have, so there's some testing I want to get done. I have some parts that arrived today, and it should be an interesting experiment. What I have, let me just grab some of these. So many parts. All right. Let's talk about solid state drives for a minute. These are all M.2 drives here, the stack I just brought out. And here's the deal. As far as I'm concerned, if you're in the market for an M2 SATA drive in the 500 gig range, you should be paying less than $100 on prices today. I will not spend more than $100, nor will I advise any client to spend more than $100 on a 500 gig SSD. And when I say 500, I mean anywhere in that range, 480 to 525, you know, depending on the manufacturer. Crucial does the 525, ADATA does like the 480. Anyway, then you gotta wonder, if you spend $30 more and you can get an NVMe drive from a no-name manufacturer, is it worth it? I don't know. Maybe we need to find out. I never heard of this company. Anybody ever heard of this company before? I saw this on Newegg. It was $129.95, I think. It's 500 gigs, and it's NVMe, PCIe 3x4. I'm curious what the numbers are on this. Now that said, this Western Digital drive was $157, and it's the slowest running NVMe drive I've ever seen. It's basically running at PCI times 2 speeds. So about 60% less performance than Western Digital's current model. And you see they didn't name the model anything any different, but you notice how this one has the speed down here of 3400, and this one's $20, $25 more. And again, we're still looking at 500 gigs, right? This Western Digital Blue, this is just a regular SATA. This I got for $88, and they're typically about $96 right now. But for $99, I think it was $99, you can get an Intel SSD 6, which is an M.2 PCIe NVMe, you know, PCIe 3.0x4 NVMe drive for effectively the same price as a regular non-NVMe drive. So what's the performance like? Well, whatever the performance is, it's going to be better than this, and for the same price, and it's made by Intel? Ooh, very interesting indeed, right? 500 gig, $100? Envy me? Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? And then of course we have ADATA. Here you got a 480 gig drive. This sells for right around $130. Incredibly fast speeds, over 3,000 megabyte per second on your sequential reads. And if you really want to get all crazy, you can add this little RGB cooler to your M.2 drive. Looks like a little graphics card. It lights up. It's got a little fan on it and keep your M.2 nice and cool. And this can be added to any M.2. Doesn't have to be NVMe. Doesn't have to be made by any particular manufacturer. If you're out for the bling, never seen a product like it. It's very unique, and that's from folks over at ADATA, and you see it is Aura compatible, and that means you can use your Aura software on your, that should have come with your motherboard if you have a modern motherboard, to control the LEDs and sync them with all the other LEDs on the system. So I have some testing, but this is the one I'm most interested in. This little thing from Electronics has me very concerned. They package it like something you get at the checkout aisle of the grocery store, like like a last-minute impulse purchase. I mean, it's crazy that they're clamshell packaging this so much like it's a $2 item. So I got a feeling it's junk, but maybe there's some value in there that's worth considering. I don't know. Has anybody ever heard of Electronics? Anybody? Where did you get the Intel drive? I got it from newegg.com. What price are you seeing on the Intel SSD 6 is what it's called. Where did it go? It's on the bottom. So 500 gig Intel SSD 6. Look that up. Tell me what price you see for that. Here's your specs right there. Just give the camera a second, it'll focus. $100, made in China. 5-year warranty. By the way, everything's got a 5-year warranty. As far as I know, even this no-name brand, I don't know how you honor your warranty, but I guess they've got a website, I have no idea. The Western Digitals, you'll see they say 5 down in the bottom corner here, 5-year warranty. 5-year warranty. Even the regular non-NVMe 5-year warranty from Western Digital. That's pretty standard in the industry right now, so you can expect these drives to have a longer lifespan than a mechanical hard drive. It's pretty rare, unless you spend a lot of money to get the professional or enterprise mechanical drives. They usually don't have a 5-year warranty. They've actually been rolling the warranties back. They were at 5, then they went to 3. I think mostly there might be 3 now. They use this excuse like, well, we don't need to have the warranty anymore because our drives are so reliable. That's backwards. If your drives were so reliable, you extend the warranty. When your drives are not reliable, that's when you lower the warranty. So your expenses are lowered for a cost of replacement units. So you got to watch what you read from these PR companies, because sometimes what they say is so preposterous. It's clear people aren't listening. Anyway, Dale says, my marriage didn't last 5 years. Well, maybe you didn't marry an NVMe drive, and that's your problem. You want pure love? You want dedication, devotion? You want an NVMe drive with a 5-year warranty, if devotion means 5 years. In this day and age, it probably does. Yes, drive is $99.99 on Newegg, a regular $109.99. We're back to talking about this. So regular price at Newegg is $109.99. Sale price, it's been on sale for a few days. Long enough for me to have ordered it and received it already, and it's still on sale for what I paid, $99.99. Now, just to be clear, $99.99 versus $157.99. NVMe. And slow, this drive is so slow. You know, it says it's PCIe by 4, but it isn't. It performs at PCIe by 2. And I'm pretty well convinced this is a Gen 1. And I think that's why. And then this is the second gen, but they should have put something on the box. Western Digital should be heavily discounting these drives. The most you're going to see out of this is about 800 megabytes per second. And the most you're going to see out of this one, I'll bet you, well, I don't know if it says. I don't know, but I'll bet you it'll be 2,500 or more. So 3 times the speed and 33% cheaper. So why in the world would you spend $58 more for the Western Digital when you could get the Intel, same capacity, same warranty, and 4 times faster? Well, yeah, 3 times, minimum 3 times faster. That's what I'm here to talk about. I've also went on Amazon and I found a couple of 256 gig flash drives that are clearly going to be fake, but I ordered them with Amazon Prime. And I'm going to show you how you can test flash drives with the free software utility that I demonstrated yesterday, the H2 Test W. I've been using that for years now. I suspect these 256 gig drives will arrive and they will read probably 16 gigs just fine, and beyond that they'll just corrupt the heck out of everything. And then once I've been able to prove that, then I will return them to Amazon because I'm protected with Prime. The drive, the 256K, the reason I know it's fake is the price. It's $18 for a 256 gig USB flash drive. There's no way that's real. There's no way. So maybe I'm wrong. We're going to find out when the parts arrive. That'll be an upcoming video. I'm going to test it live. I suspect they're fake. How Amazon is continuing to allow them for sale, I don't understand. But we'll test them. The other concern, if you do see very inexpensive drives, they're usually USB 2. And if you were going to write 256 gigs through USB 2, you're going to be there a while. Yeah, maybe more than a day. That's how slow that is. So you do get what you pay for in this industry, but unfortunately there are still a lot of unscrupulous sellers that have no problem adjusting firmwares to falsely report the size. So they'll take like a legitimate 16 gig drive and then they alter the firmware in it so that it reports that it's 256. And then when you buy it and the first thing you do is you copy a few files to it or you run a speed test on it, you go, hey, this thing's pretty good, I got a good deal. It's not the fastest, but it's, you know, it appears to be at capacity. But the minute you copy more than whatever the original drive was they used, so in most cases I bet you they're 16 gigs. The minute you copy 16.1 gigs to it, that's when things start to go sideways. And they also tend to not be very reliable. They might work well for a couple months and then they just stop working. But more importantly, you're being ripped off, you're being misled, you're being deceived, you're being lied to. And I'd like to see Amazon crack down on that, and my goal will be then to share the video with Amazon's marketing department and start shutting these sellers down. And I will get my money back because it is Amazon Prime. And I have to tell you, you know, you can shop around for the lowest price all day long, but having that peace of mind that I can send it back and not have to pay for shipping and not have to deal with customer service or, you know, debating or arguing, I will pay more for a product just to have that safety net. Electronics is supposed to be a US company based in Newark, New Jersey, and they sell on Newegg and Amazon. Yeah, I never heard of them before, but that doesn't mean they won't be bad. Are we going to get a new show every night except Friday? I think so. That's my goal. My goal is to bring on a new show tomorrow as well. Did I test the USB sticks I was given? Yes, thank you for asking. They all tested fine. However, some of them have really small cracks. The plastic that they're made from, the whole feel of it, it feels flimsy and thin. It feels like something you get out of a gumball machine. That's how cheaply they're made. But they work, so I can't really, I mean, they're not a 5-star. I left a review on Amazon for them. They're made by a company called Kexin. I think it's Kexin. If you search Amazon for Kexin 2 gigabyte 10-pack, you'll see my review there. Let's see if we can find a link. Somebody's having a little tantrum fit about the Intel SSD, so let's address the tantrum from somebody too lazy to look it up themselves, but not lazy enough that they can not throw a tantrum. Let's see, Intel SSD 6, 512 gig. Well, my Newegg is 600p series. No, that's not it. Let's go to my order history and let's pull that up. It looks like, yeah, here it is right here, you guys. Here's the link for the part. He says, I looked, and it's not envy me. Really? Because it seems pretty clear to me you're not looking at the same thing the rest of us are looking at. Can anybody read that to me? Anybody tell me? What does that say? Right there. Can anybody tell me what that says right there? I get so frustrated with people sometimes. People need to learn to ask questions and stop making false statements. Just, if you don't know, say you don't know. Don't sit there and tell me it's not what it says it is. All right, enough of that. All right, you guys have any other questions for me? You have questions I can answer? Performance, maximum sequential read up to 1500 and maximum writes up to 1000. Yeah, I think that's probably about right for a drive of that price, which is fantastic because a regular SATA-based SSD, you're going to hit 560 tops. You're never going to go any faster on SATA, ever, never, ever. You see 560, you better enjoy it because that's it. If you want to go beyond that, you have to go NVMe. And when you go NVMe with, like a ×2 PCIe, you're looking around 800 and change. And then when you go ×4, you're looking 1,000 and beyond, 1,200 and beyond usually. So you can even hit as much as 3,500. The size of the drive also improves. The bigger the drive, the faster it is on NVMe drives. That's the way the technology works. So, yeah. Is the computer still for sale? Yeah, nobody's contacted me, not a single person. So I still have that Phenom 2 back there. Is it better to wait until Intel fixes their processors? All software and all hardware have flaws. The Intel flaw has existed since 1997, and you've been using an Intel chip probably for over a decade. The only thing that's changed is your mind has been poisoned. There's no actual threat that I've ever seen that takes advantage of Spectre or Meltdown. I've not read or seen any articles of anybody who's ever been affected by it. But because the media has reported it, now all the hackers know about it. The story I like to tell is like this. Let's just say I've been leaving my back door of my house unknowingly unlocked for the last 20 years, and I've never had a burglary. Nobody's ever entered my house illegally or without permission. But now that I've just told the whole world that, I better start locking my back door, right? This is what the danger of the media. The media has released information they should not have released. They have poisoned the minds of innocent people who, unfortunately, think this is knowledge and makes them smarter, but it actually hindered them and poisoned their mind and made them a little dumber, that they're worried about a problem that's always been there. So in the movie The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is from the 70s, this is how sheepish this behavior is. The joke was, if you put these glasses on and there was anything that would cause you any danger, potentially, the glasses turn black so you can't see it and you won't panic. Don't panic. It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's the logic of the ostrich sticking its head in the sand which ostriches don't do, but never mind that. An ostrich sticking its head in the sand when it's in danger. If I don't see the danger, no danger exists. Well, the meltdown virus, exploit has existed since 1997. You were blissfully ignorant of it. And now that you're aware of it, you are overhyping the potential of any negative possibility of any harm or an exploit that would take advantage of that. Furthermore, modern motherboard manufacturers have released BIOS updates that addresses this. It may result in some degradation of performance of the CPU because it involves the way the caching works. And it's because of the caching that this exploit exists. You guys do this all the time. I see you guys push your computers to an extreme limit that's actually dangerous for the hardware, and in some cases could potentially open exploits up through the overclocking utilities that you use from Gigabyte and Asus. They've had a number of issues with some of their utilities. My regular customers don't use those utilities, and so those exploits don't exist. You also saw systems crashing with the Aura software. When Windows updated, all of a sudden the Aura software caused blue screens. Just for RGB lighting, are you kidding me? So yeah, I think your concern about Meltdown Inspector is overblown, and I wouldn't worry about it. Every chip has an exploit. Every chip ever made has one. This has had it for 20 years, and you've only now found out about it. And the media should have kept their mouth shut, because now, because the hackers do know about it, it's more likely to be taken advantage of. And it's a problem with the media. The media should not have reported this because it's a non-news issue. So what if you've left your door unlocked? Nobody's ever come in. So why do you have to report that on the news? But now that you've reported it on the news, you better lock it. So anyway, buy what you want. I don't care. I will tell you, on the M2 drives, getting back to the M2 drives, this was very interesting for me, for those of you who were watching live the other day when I tested both of these. This is the slowest M2 NVMe drive I've ever tested in my life. And this is the fastest M2 NVMe drive I've ever tested in my life. So I don't know if I should be telling you to, yeah, you should buy Western Digital or you shouldn't, because I don't know how you're supposed to know which one you're buying, other than the slow one, which is over here, the big box, is 512 gig, and the little box, the fast one, is 12 gigs smaller. It's 500 gigs. It's very easy to buy the wrong drive. And why spend this much money when you can get this ADATA drive, which doesn't perform as fast, but I don't think a human being is going to notice the difference, honestly. I mean, without benchmarking software, I don't think you would know the difference. If I lined up 3 computers and I put one of these drives in each computer and otherwise everything else was the same, and I asked you, without looking at any utilities, without going into the properties of the system, but just using the system, which one has the slow drive and which one has the fast drive, you might be able to tell the slow drive, but I don't think you'd be able to tell the difference between the 2 fast ones. I think it'd be a 50-50 guess. When you want to run your benchmarking software, then you're just a hypochondriac looking for something to complain about. I mean, either you're happy with your PC performance or you're not. If you're waiting for a piece of software to tell you, then you might as well just go be a slave to the rest of the robots, and they'll tell you what else you should be happy about. It should be the other way around. You should be telling the machines. They shouldn't be telling you. Carrie, I've been able to get a list of parts together for $2,000 on Newegg based on an i7-7820X CPU. Nice. 32 gig DDR4. Samsung 960 Pro. Nice. Send me the parts list. I'd appreciate it if you would. Brian says he's giving away 5 Acronis True Image 2019 licenses with 1 terabyte. These are all Premiere from Acronis. That's awesome, Brytech. Acronis True Image 2019 just came out yesterday. It's got a lot of features. You can back up your photos off of Instagram. You can back up your phone if it's an Android-based phone. You can create, when you back up an image to a hard drive, not to a flash drive, but to a hard drive, you can make that hard drive bootable so that it boots and then restores your image. So you don't need to have a separate rescue disk. It's got a bunch of other features to it. What's the best way to send me the parts list? You can send it to my email address, which I will put right here in the chat room. You can reach me please keep this for business emails only. Don't ask me how my day is and what's the weather like. I'm sorry, I just don't have time for that. If you have a business inquiry, feel free to email me for any business related items. LHB Gaming has contributed 10 New Zealand dollars. Thank you for helping people. Well, thank you, LHB Gaming. I appreciate that. You could also go to PC Part Picker and you can create a parts list and send me the link in the chat room. That's another way. Or email me the link. So, and there's the link. Brian has provided the link if you want to enter the competition. When does the competition end? When will winners be decided, Brian? I will use, somebody's saying I don't follow my own advice because I test the drives with software. I have clients of different statures, so the mistake that people on the internet make is that everybody's like you. Nobody's like you. Maybe you're friends, but people who don't know you, they're not like you. They're not like you at all. So the reason I do the benchmarking is so that people understand the value of the device to them. You see, the people that make comments like that, they think the faster drive is always the best choice, but it isn't. You wouldn't go to a tire shop and buy high performance tires for a low performance car, would you? But if the high performance tires were only $2 more, maybe you would. And so by testing price, capacity, and performance and warranty, I'm not telling you which drive you should buy because I don't know you. I'm telling you what to expect for the money you spend. And so the price for performance value drops the higher the performance goes, the more money you pay for it, but the less returns you're getting for your dollar. So there's a sweet spot sort of right in the middle. And so if you're looking at, like this guy has an M.2 drive Gen 1, that's just 10 gigabits a second. He's only going to go maximum 800 megabytes a second. Is it worth spending extra money than just sticking with SATA M2? Because it's only 50% faster. It's not a whole lot faster. It's not 50% of a big number, it's 50% of 560. So, you're basically looking at around 800 maximum read speed. But if you can get a drive that's the same price, right? So if this drive is the same price as this drive with the same warranty, but this drive will read 800 and this one will only read 560, then this one makes sense for that person. On the other hand, if they both seem too slow, then it's time for an upgrade. And if you're going to do an upgrade and you're going to go with a Core i3, probably still want to stick with one of these. It doesn't really change much, but you'll get better performance out of this than you will from this. This makes even more sense. But if you're going into an high-end i5 or high-end i7 or high-end Ryzen, well, then you'd want to be high-end on your SSD, and then that's where it may make sense to go with more like something like this. But on the other hand, if your thinking the performance on this is awfully close to the performance on this, but this one cost almost twice as much money. You could buy 2 of these. Would you rather have 2 of these in RAID 0 for slightly more money than the cost of 1 of these? I could go on all day. That's the whole point of this industry, is you get to sort of figure out things for you. But for you to come forward and say what works for you and what your preferences are for everybody, you're delusional. So yeah, thanks for calling me out on my testing. It's clear you're not getting the message. So you're gonna be nasty with me, expect to get nasty back. That's just people who don't get it. And by the way, the internet is filled with people who just don't get it. They're just one-sided. Whatever's right is right. This is the best. There's no better. Best is subjective. What somebody thinks is the best doesn't tell you what they're valuing. Are they valuing warranty, customer support, read performance, sequential read performance, random performance? Are they talking about price and value? There's so many different ways people determine what they consider to be best. It will very rarely apply to anybody else but them. So don't be a sheep and think for yourself, and use the information to choose what's right for you. And because you're the only person that matters, you know, when it's your money you're spending, I think it's important you understand what you're buying. I don't want you to pay for something and expect, and not have your expectations met. That's my goal here. I'm gonna make sure that whatever choice you make, that when you get that product and you install it, it's exactly the way I told you it was gonna be, and that you're gonna be happy. That's how you run a sustainable business. You let your customers know all of the conditions and caveats. You as the seller or as the business owner, you have 2 jobs. One is to set your customer's expectation, and the second is to meet or exceed the expectation that you set. So if you have an unhappy customer, you failed step 1 or step 2. So by doing it the way I explain it, I don't have upset customers. It just doesn't happen. I let them know this is what you can expect. I always play down, you know, I tell them the highest price probably they're gonna pay, and I usually come in under that. I tell them they're gonna have to wait 10 days, and then maybe they only wait 7 days. Always come in at your estimate or at your expectation, or beat your expectation, and you will have a happy customer every single time. If you only want to be in business for a short time, then don't do it that way. But if you want to be in business for life, you want to have customers, you know, spreading word of mouth. You want customers coming back for more business. You want customers to be happy. And I like to sleep at night. So, you know, I feel good knowing that when a customer buys something from me, they are fully agreeing to what to expect in return. And it's really easy. It's so simple to do. 5 pounds is contributed from Bonkers Man. Thank you, Bonkers Man. And this is why I do my channel, because there's so many tech enthusiasts out there. There's not many guys like me and Brytech. You see Brytech, he's also a working computer technician. We work in the trenches. We deal with the customers. We deal with businesses that have, you know, their whole business is on the line. If their computers don't work, their business is shut down, then their customers are upset. So we hold a lot on our shoulders that other tech channels don't hold any liability or accountability to the things they do or the reasoning that they use. They're just pretending. They're just having a good time and enjoying their hobby. But a hobbyist and a professional are 2 different things. A professional makes money, and a hobbyist spends money. So on that particular subject of whatever their hobby or profession is. The IRS clarifies this in the United States. If you run a business for, I think, 3 or 4 years and it loses money 3 or 4 years in a row, it's a hobby, and you'll no longer be able to take deductions for it. Okay, any other questions here before we wrap things up? Charlie says, Brytech, you're in a league of your own. Incredible content. I agree. I can listen to Brytech's accent all day long. Carl Tonanella phrases it well. He says, under promise and over deliver. You used a lot fewer words than I did. But yes, exactly. I like it when people get it. It makes me feel good. I feel like we're really communicating here, you and I. Ron Stewart has contributed $10. He says, thanks for inspiring to build my PC. Well, thank you, Ron. Thanks for your contribution. Eric Crump has contributed $4.99. Thank you, Eric. Samuel Kowalski says, you make wonderful videos, Carrie. Thank you, Samuel. Reverend John O'Toole says, some customers we love and others we don't. Well, this is true, and I've said this a number of times. I've had people say to me, what do I do if I'm going to lose my customer? And I go, well, there's a difference between losing a customer and losing a good customer. I don't mind losing customers, but I'm devastated if I lose a good customer. Not all customers are the same. Thomas says he's emailed me the parts list. All right, thank you, Thomas. I'll check that out a little bit later after we're done here. Is the gentleman going to sell off his old parts to help cover the cost of the new build? More than likely, those parts, I'll have to talk to the customer about it. He won't have any use for the parts. He'll probably just tell me to keep them. I won't sell them because I don't want to warranty them. I'm not sure. I need to talk to him about that, though, because they do have value. Maybe I can trade him labor for the parts or something, because I don't want to just take his parts either. Donnie Seegers contributed $5. He says, I had a choice he says, I had a choice, fix computers or run my own landscaping company. I like working outside, so computers became my hobby. Yeah, that's great. Nothing wrong with that. Just don't misrepresent yourself as a technician, because you're not. Technician is somebody who gets paid to fix computers for a minimum of at least 3 years. If you haven't done that, you're not a professional. You may be a technician in training, a journeyman's technician, but you are not a technician until you have 3 solid full-time years of being held accountable and responsible for repairing, upgrading, maintaining, building computers. Then you can call yourself a professional technician. But the minute you stop getting paid for it, within a year after that, you've lost your edge. All these guys that maybe used to be technicians and now all they do is make YouTube channels and they no longer work on customer machines, within a year you lose all of that knowledge. And then generally you're just focusing on the latest and greatest hardware with no real concept of practicality anymore, because all the accountability goes away. So it's just a complete career change. But if you're not in the trenches, you understand it from your history, but you won't be able to just jump back in. You'll have to be reacclimated to it. And you'll learn it faster since you were there before, but it's going to take you a little while to warm back up, to get back up to speed with everything in the industry, the way things run in the industry. Christopher Evans says, hi, I just sent you 20 pounds. Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you, Christopher Evans. I really appreciate that. Tell Lyle and Jimmy I said hello. Lyle, Jimmy, Ron Stewart says hello. He did? Yeah, he did. You want to say hi back? You want to say hello? You guys want to say hello? Oh, I don't have the There he is. There they are. There's one. Where's my other one? Come over here. You little brat. Yeah, look at these boys. Such a good boy. Oh, he likes that. Right under the chin. Oh, is that a good spot right there? Oh, yeah. How about right at the end of your chin? Oh, chinny chin chin. You're a good boy. You got a brain in there? You got a brain in there? Such a good boy. Yeah, you know, you can pat a dog hard enough that would flatten a cat. Dogs love it. All right. Is it better to build a system or buy one? I'll let the chat room answer that one for you. Patrick Doyle says, hello from Derby, UK. Love the live stream with a nice cup of tea. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Patrick. Enjoy your cuppa. Yeah, you know, it's a pretty nice build, I have to say. Let's see if we can boot it up, get into Windows, and what I do, unplug it? What's going on? Yeah, I turned it off. That's the great thing about the Corsair 200R. Not only can you keep the 2 SSDs, but we can also add a new motherboard, new video card, new CPU, new memory. Still have lots of room for, you know, not only adding this drive, but adding up to 3 more. So even after this expansion, he still has even more room, to, you know, lots of room left over to continue expanding in the years to come. And just to find a case with 2 front port USB 3s for under 60 bucks, still to this day, I can't find anything like that. You know, there are some cases that have the case windows, and for my business clients, it's totally unacceptable. Let's see. If that's the right password, we're about to find out. Oh yeah, it seems to be working. And let's turn the desktop icons off so my customer can have some privacy. Not that there's a whole lot of, look at this thing. Look at all these shortcuts. Oh my God. Holy smokes. Let's take a closer look at that. Wow. Where's Brytech when you need them? All right, let's close that. Apparently he's got some kind of utility already running on it for his processor. Maybe he is watching his temps. Power usage, that's pretty nifty. Let's go into the task manager. And let's bring up, let's see, process, was it under performance? Ah, yeah, resource monitor, that's what I wanted. Yeah, I mean, it's a good computer. I mean, it's quick, but he wants it faster. Like I said, his rendering times are driving him crazy. So, and I edit video, as you well know, and I feel his pain. Editing is one of the things I hate to do the most, because even if you bought the best of everything and you maxed everything out in editing, it's still not enough. People go, what's the best hardware to buy for an editing rig? The most you can afford, and even then, it still won't be enough. So I got to test all these M.2s so we can determine the value And I'm really, really curious about this. I just can't get over how they packaged it like a yo-yo. Yeah. And I can't wait till I get those flash drives in with the 256 gig supposed storage capacities. That ought to be real telling. Now I did test the SanDisk. I showed you the SanDisk Extreme, if you remember. I actually have a couple of these. Let me go grab them and remind you what I was doing the other day. Here they are, right here. Oh, you know what else I can show you? As I've looked through my history, I actually own quite a bit of ADATA stuff, and I never really thought about it, but all the ADATA stuff I own has always been working. So this is an ADATA flash drive I bought. This is a 16 gig. The price was really competitive. No, this is 128 gig. And it's got a little slider to slide the USB out. And that's from ADATA, and it's got a little tiny light right there. The light's right there. I have a 16 gig and 128 gig. They look exactly the same, just the little writing is different right there. And these are my favorites. These are the SanDisk Extremes and Extreme Pro. And I love that it's got a little magnetized, it's so cool because you can kind of grab it and the magnet will just, and then I can't push it back down, it like locks in. So you don't have to worry about when you stick it, and when I put it in, is it going to push it back in? No, it doesn't go back in. You have to use the button, and then it starts to go in, and then you can slide it in. And it's the best fidget spinner ever, because you just try and control. Okay, it's not gonna, the magnet's not gonna grab it. The magnet's not gonna grab it. Oh, magnet grabbed it. Okay, magnet's not gonna grab it. Slow, slow, slow. Oh, it grabbed it. This will entertain me all day. So this one's 16 gigs, and this one is 256 gigs. And I will just sit there and just fidget with these all day. I love them. So how fast is the 256 gig? That's what you want to know, right? Well, they refer to the 256 gig as a USB SSD, and they're not really exaggerating too much on that. Let's see if I can load and take a quick look at the Crystal Diskmark results. So let's go into my OBS software and let's browse into the network attached storage drive, which should have all my test results in there. And this is SanDisk, so it should be under the S's. Oh, it's not in there. Well, let's run it now. Let's do that now. So let's cancel that. I should have, who makes this flash drive? So this is my Transcend 16 gig flash drive. These are cheap, kind of the business flash drive. USB 3. This should have Crystal Diskmark on it. Let's check and see. Yeah, there it is. Crystal Diskmark portable. Let's just, I think we should just run it from here. Let's load that up, and then let's plug in the Extreme. This is USB 3.1, the 256 gig one. I don't think this motherboard has anything but USB 3, so this may not actually demonstrate the actual potential performance, but let's just see. I probably have to restart this again so it can redetect that I just plugged a flash drive in. Let's look for a 256. Yeah, it says 238. And let's do the test. And let me just make sure I'm on the right drive, because it should be blinking. Yeah, there's a little blue light. You probably can't see it. There's a little blue light kind of hidden that's flashing. Let's see what kind of numbers this thing will pull. There we go. Now this will do over 400, but again, this is only USB 3, not USB 3.1. But that's a flash drive that you can stick in your pocket. And I think that has a 5-year warranty. Let me find the box. What does the box say? Here's the box. And they give you a link to download software for file encryption. I never use that because these are temporary utilities for me. I don't use them for permanent storage, but it's nice to know if that is useful to you. But yeah, 420 maximum reads and 380 maximum writes, which is very impressive for a little flash drive that's, you know, it's the same shape and size as this other one. And just to give you an idea, if I just put that in my hand, how small that is. But I don't see anything about the warranty. I thought this had a really good warranty on it. Oh, it's in the top left corner. What's it say? 5? Oh, that's 1 year software download offer. That's not warranty. Nope. What about the back? Anything about the warranty on the back? Lifetime limited warranty right there. And a 30-year warranty in Canada that does not recognize, and other countries that don't recognize the definition of lifetime. 30 years? Are you kidding me? Yeah. So we're doing pretty good on just on USB 3 though. That's incredibly fast speeds, especially when you consider what I was getting the other day on those little 2 gig flash drives. What was I getting, 15? This is getting 324. Yeah, I'm not gonna complain. And of course, on a more modern computer, it'll read much faster than that. It'll go like 100 megabytes faster than what you're seeing on the sequential reads and writes. There's no such thing as losing data as long as you have backups. So anybody who claims they've lost data and blames the manufacturer, you're the one who should know better than having one copy of data on any form of media. There is no form of media that can guarantee that your data will never be corrupted or lost. So obviously, if it's important to you, the warranty only covers the device itself, not the data you put on it. If that data is important to you, you wouldn't just trust it to one device. Wouldn't matter what that device was. You just wouldn't do that. So there's our final numbers. Very respectable, very impressive for a USB flash drive. Let me eject that. The reason you see so many drive letters on this is because he's got the memory card reader, and so every slot in the memory card reader has a function. Has a drive letter assigned to it, I mean. So there's some of my flash drives. I'll show you a couple other ones I've got. I was going through a drawer of flash drives I don't use because they're too slow. And when I'm copying data, a lot of times I'm copying drivers or BIOSes. On a BIOS, it doesn't really matter how fast or how slow the drive is, but I've got some fun things. Let's see. so many to choose from. Oh, goodness. Well, just drop them all over the place, Carrie. All right, this will be good enough for now. It's pretty rare that I've had any flash drive memory fail. Well, let's talk about this little stack of flash drives for a minute. Let's readjust. There we go. So going back to talk about I'm rarely ever seeing flash drives fail. When flash drives first came out, they were quite expensive, and I bought this little one from iOmega, and I put it on my keychain, and I had it on my keychain for a couple of years. I think this is 256 megabytes, USB 1. Still works fine today. No issue. No problem with this. This is from iOmega. Works fine. This was from a company called A-Pacer. I got this at Fry's Electronics. It's kind of a weird, it's longer than most flash drives. And I think it's, does it have a size on there? It's pretty, these are all going to be pretty low capacity, probably USB 2, maybe even USB 1. If the camera will focus on it, which it doesn't seem to want to do. Come on, camera. There it goes. Handy Steno. Yeah. For those of you old school enough to know what a Steno is, this is an older verbatim. It's probably 512 gig. You see, there's, well, maybe it says, does it say? No, just a bunch of numbers. What about the other side? Yeah, there's no indication of what size this is. Maybe one of the reasons why I don't use it. These, I hate the drives that swivel. I just hate these so much. I don't mind when they're little teeny tiny ones like this, but when they're this big, it just drives me bonkers. But maybe one of the best values in flash drives is the Samsung bar. You can see how tiny that is. And all it is a piece of metal, and the circuit board is glued inside. So there are complaints of people that they pull it out and the glue breaks free. But it's solid metal, you can put it on a keychain. There's no LED activity light on it though. I think that's 32 gigs if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, this one's 16 gigs. The 32 looks the same. This is a, I think this is, what says Data Traveler, so this is Kingston. And I don't like this because you can go to plug this in and it just pushes itself right back out. Just a bad design. I just don't like Kingston. This is an old Lexar, I think this is 512, and this has sort of a rubber piece that you remove, but there's no way to tie this together, so you just lose this piece. I suppose maybe you could get a string and tie it on a lanyard here, but there's nothing to tie it to on this, and this is the important piece, but they all still work. This is 1 gigabyte, 1 gigabyte. And once I got rid of this, I went to Lexar, had these were great. This is a bigger capacity, but what I did, when they initially sold them, they gave you a keychain for it. So I would put this on my keychain and then I could just pull the flash drive out of it, use it, then plug it right back on. You can see how worn out that plastic looks. I use this a lot. So I had all my utilities on here and then I filled it up and I needed more utilities. And so I upgraded to the bigger size and then put my utilities on there, and the whole back of it is a light, which I love, so I can see, you know, is it reading, is it doing something? Here's another ADATA drive I've got, completely different design. See, I've been buying ADATA, I haven't really been realizing. That's the ADATA I've shown you. These are the Corsair Flash Voyager series. I've got about 3 of these. I think I have a 256, a 512, and a 1 gig, and they look identical, so I had to get a marker and write on it to know which was which. This is a 256 gig flash drive. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. This is the first 1 gigabyte flash drive available for under $100. Now, to give you some perspective to what the reaction was when I bought this, it would be like if I told you you could buy a 1 terabyte flash drive for $100 or $99. Can you imagine if you could buy a 1 terabyte flash drive for under $100? Well, that's what it was like buying this many years ago. This is a SanDisk Cruiser, 1.0 gigabyte. Big light on the end of it. You can see when it's reading and writing. Still works fine today. No problems with it at all. Every one of these flash drives works. Who makes this? This is the Kingston Data Traveler with the slider on the side. This is a funky, weird slider. You push it back. Drives me nuts. Don't like it. This is an old, I don't know, no-name 128 megabyte. Yeah, I said that. 128 megabyte flash drive. Still works. TDK, remember TDK? Flash drive. This one is 32 gigs. These are just cheap, I don't even know who this company is. 1 gig flash drives. Patriot made this a long, long time ago. Remember, Patriot's still around. They're still making memory stuff for computers. What capacity is that? 4 gigs. 4 gigs. This is another ADATA drive right here from back in the day. Still works. Not sure what size it is. I'd have to plug it in. This was a fun drive to play with. This is the Sony 4 gig, and it's just like a ballpoint pen. I would just play with this all day. Fun. And these, I have a bunch of these. These are the best thing ever. These are made by a company called Silicon Power. And they're 8 gigs or 16 gigs. And you see this little thing right here? That's a magnet, so you can stick it. You don't lose it. So obviously magnets have no problem around your computer. And that's why these are all stuck together, because they're magnetized, right? So I just put that on there with the rest of them. These are great for loading my music up in the car, and then I can just plug that into the car stereo. I don't care, I don't want the blinking LED in the car. So it's very small, out of sight, out of mind. And they're impossible to find anymore, but I love those. So that's some of my flash drives. ADATA also makes this other, I currently use a flash drive now when I go on site for clients. And I didn't even realize until I looked closely the other day that ADATA makes this flash drive. Let me show it to you. This flash drive is on a keychain, and I'm able to just take it off the keychain because it's a carabiner. See that? It just opens right there. Made by ADATA. And it has the capacity I need, which in this case is 32 gigs. There's no read or write LED on it, and then the way you access it is you just spin it out. So if I push on it like this, how do I do it? You just grab it and just rotate it out. And then when you're done, just like a pocket knife. Very handy. I really, really like that. And then when I'm done with it, just put it right back on the keychain. So yeah, lots and lots of older flash drives that I won't use anymore, but surprising how many of those were ADATA drives that I bought, and they all work fantastic. And you know, I can't say the same when it comes to mechanical drives. I do have a handful of small mechanical drives that still work today, but they're very noisy, and I wouldn't trust anything on them. They're mostly used for history and teaching lessons. Now, does anybody have any questions for me? Otherwise, I think it'll be about time for me to wrap things up here. And I'm going to get online and look at some parts and send this customer a parts list. And then hopefully I'll be building something very soon. If you're looking for free technical support, of course, you're welcome to ask in the chat. But if you're not getting answers in the chat, there's a website called techguy.org, and you can get free tech support all day long, all night long. And let me just put the link in the chat room here. Now, I can't, there's obviously it's free support, so there's no accountability, there's no liability, and everything is free. So you're going to have to use your own judgment as to whether or not you follow anybody's advice. But that website has been around for about 15 years or more doing free technical support. And you should definitely take advantage of it. And I'm always available for hire, but I don't do support for free. So what else? Any questions? Jose and Veronica Lopez say, I love your videos, Carrie. Thank you. Do I have any of the old flash drives that use vacuum tubes? The flash drives that use vacuum tubes still exist, and I still have them. They're made from old Russian vacuum tubes, and they come from Latvia. And let me give you a link to one of them. Let's see. Yeah, a company called Slavatech in Latvia makes them, and they make them in all different capacities from 8 gig, 16, 32, and 64, and different colors. So you get a green LED, an orange LED, purple LED, and here's a link for they're basically steampunk flash drives. So I'm going to just list it as steampunk flash drive. And you can order it on Amazon, and all they do basically is they just gut a working flash drive and modify it. So it's pretty cool though, honestly. It's pretty freaking cool. And it's not very big. The picture makes it look like it's a big vacuum tube. It's a pretty narrow vacuum tube. It's about, I've shown them in the video before. It is overpriced, but it's not like you're gonna shop around to find a better price. I have this debate with the grocery stores in the Phoenix area. All the grocery stores basically sell all the same products, and they compete on price. But what if you want something else, something different? I argue that there should be a grocery store that sells products the other grocery stores don't carry, and then they can charge whatever price they want. See how that works? And I would gladly pay for something different. I may not buy it all the time because it wouldn't be different anymore. Maybe grocery stores can't sustain that way. They only compete on price, and it doesn't really matter which grocery store you go to in Phoenix. They all, with a few exceptions, all the big chains are using the same distributors and selling the same product. So just shop whatever one is closest to the house, I guess. All right, so any other questions? Otherwise, like I said, I'm going to wrap things up. So if you have any questions, this is now the time to ask me. Carrie, will you be doing the build of this customer's new PC live? I hope so. That would be my intent, is to do that live, yes. Does Windows 10 have built-in software that converts YouTube videos to MP3? Stephen, you are a moderator, and as such, asking questions that would violate copyright, I would advise you not to ask or participate in those discussions. The software is not built into Windows 10 because it would be illegal. Anything that takes from YouTube The reason why a download button doesn't exist is because they don't want you downloading it. If you were to take my videos off of YouTube and watch them, I don't make any money. And if I don't make any money, I just stop making videos, and there won't be any videos. So be careful what you ask for, because if everybody starts doing it, you know, the music industry is particularly hit by this, where they'll put noises, you know, like a car driving, an engine revving in a music video, like Portugal the Man, Live in the Moment video. They've added noises to the song to discourage people from ripping the MP3 off of it, because otherwise you're not going to have the album version. And this is what they're having to do now to counter the piracy. So that is piracy. If it wasn't piracy, you would just reach out to the YouTube creator and they can send you the MP3 file if you ask. But they probably won't, because they don't want you to have it without paying for it. Where can you get an SSD USB hard drive? All SSD drives can be used as USB drives by just buying an adapter. A SATA to USB adapter is available anywhere that electronics are sold. Amazon, Newegg, they're only a couple of dollars. A company named Bulldog makes one. You don't have to buy a special device. Although Samsung makes the T3 series of portable SSDs, but they're very expensive. They're good, but they're expensive, and they're really no better than just having the adapter, except they're in a nice fancy package, and they're a little smaller. They may be about yay big, but they're also just as wide. It's like a little square. They're fast and very durable. You cannot legally buy keys off of eBay for Microsoft software. It has to come from a licensed distributor. And if you guys are going to start promoting illegal software and piracy on my channel, you're going to find yourself hidden off the channel very quickly. So you're not helping people when you're advising them to participate in theft. So just understand, maybe your motivation was to be, you know, maybe your intent was to be helpful, but telling somebody you don't have to pay for that diamond ring, if you just get a nice big brick, you can break the window and take all the diamond rings you want. We're not following that philosophy on my channel. I have a business to run, and I have to rely on Microsoft. And if Microsoft says you're promoting piracy on your channel, we're not going to endorse you or help you in any way, shape, or form, and hopefully won't sue me. I have to protect my business, and I can't play those games. You sitting at home in your mother's garage or basement, you do that all you want, but in real life, there's a lot to risk on that. You know, when you're running a business, it gets very, very serious. Keith says, I warned about that earlier. Well, you did your job, Keith, and I appreciate that. One of the downsides of the channel growing and getting bigger is we're bringing in some new blood who don't quite understand. They're still very young or immature, and don't have a full, complete view of the world, or they don't care. But we're not going to let them poison the well of our community here, and that's why I have so many moderators, is to just make sure that we're all civil and we're a community of supportive people. Don't insult anybody. Don't be rude. Don't use negative terms about gender, race, religion. We don't want to do any of that. In fact, we just better not even talk about that stuff. We are a tech channel, and we're here to talk about education. We're not here to talk about politics or religion. Sometimes we venture off into music a little bit. It's a little fun to talk about music, but that tends not to be very controversial. Remember, what you choose to do at home for yourself is one thing. When you're advising other people, you are potentially opening yourself up to a lawsuit, and at least here in America, if you were to advise somebody to buy a cheap Windows key and then that person got in trouble for it, they could sue you for that. Even though you made no money from it, even though you meant no harm in it, you're fully responsible. You can be held fully responsible in a court of law. I don't know of any cases where that's happened. It usually happens to people who actually distribute the software, not to people who recommend, hey, you should steal it. But a lot of times they don't even realize they're recommending you should steal it. But ignorance is no excuse for violating the law in the United States. You're just expected to know. And if you get caught and if you get sued and if you get fined or go to jail, now you know. That's how it works. So we're just going to play it safe and fair here. This is not, as the channel grows in popularity, we have to become more sensitive to that. It's sort of a downside, can't really talk about that stuff. And I've never really endorsed it anyway, not since I've run my own business. I know business owners who have been shut down and sued by Microsoft for copyright violations. So when it happens to somebody you know, when it happens to several people you know, yeah, that's a little too close to home, and I want to keep it as far from home as possible. So play by the rules. How come Microsoft's not clamping down on this? Well, Microsoft, first of all, lawyers and lawsuits cost a lot of money. And if you're someone who can't even afford a copy of Windows, so you think Microsoft makes enough, they can take the hit. They deserve it. If you have this weird entitlement justification, you probably don't have any money because you're probably not a very employable person. And so suing you would cost them more money than they would ever recover. So they generally go after the distributors, the people who are selling bulk licenses. And then they freeze their bank accounts and then empty the accounts. They get a judge to step in and freeze the account so the person can't drain it and spend it. And then when the lawsuit's over, then Microsoft takes what they've got. And that helps offset the cost of the attorneys and legal fees. So it's just business like anything else. Going to jail for Windows, what a BS. Some of the sellers selling illegal copies of Windows make upwards of $4 million in sales of Windows and Office and other pirated keys from Adobe. That's not chump change. $4 million from one seller on, wherever the site was. I just recall reading this not too long ago. Microsoft made a deal with one guy who didn't have any money that he had to make a YouTube video talking about why you shouldn't pirate software. And it had to be viewed at least 200,000 times. And then Microsoft would release him from the debt that he owed them. Yeah, it's no small crime. This is big time crime. Where you pay a fair price. You don't know what a fair price is for the software because you're not involved in the cost and development of it. So the fair price is what the manufacturer is selling it for. If you have to steal it or go in an underhanded or illegal manner to buy it, then you're a thief. You should not buy the software. If you think the software is not a fair price, don't buy it. Buy something else. You can switch to Apple, you can switch to Linux, go ahead. But don't steal from Windows and then justify it. That you're mentally entitled and you really should look in the mirror and wonder how you would feel if somebody walked into your house, opened your refrigerator and said, you know what, I don't care how much you paid for the Coca-Cola in your refrigerator, you have more money than me and I should be able to just take it. And I'm pretty sure you would not be okay with that. And if you can imagine that can of Coca-Cola being worth, I don't know, $100, and the person says, I'll give you $10 for it, but that's not what you paid, it's not what it cost you. And they just take it because you have more than them and therefore you should give it to them and you should accept it because you're charging too much. Here's a better idea. Don't use the product, don't want the product. Find another product that you do like and go support that one. Otherwise, you're just a common criminal and you can justify it all day long. You talk to everybody in jail, all of them, 90% of them say, I didn't do it, I don't deserve to be here. And they're mostly all liars and delusional. You're one of those people? That's on you. A guy in New York got 150 days in jail for charging 25 cents for burning Windows to a DVD for people. Not selling the license. Yeah, I believe that. You're not allowed to distribute Microsoft Windows. You understand? You're not allowed to do it. That's why when you're buying the keys and you're like, well, they're just extra keys. No, the person selling you is not an authorized distributor and has already violated Microsoft terms. Most of the time, those keys are illegal, 98% of the time. There's no such thing as leftover keys. There's no such thing. That's a nice imagination you have to justify your theft, but there is no such thing as extra keys. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And the fact that you guys believe that nonsense is just pathetic. You've got to be smarter than that. Is it safe to buy OEM keys? Yes, from an authorized distributor. Okay, so if you're buying OEM keys from an authorized distributor, that's no problem. An OEM key of Windows 10 Home is probably around $50. So you can get Windows cheaper, but you need to be able to prove you're a system builder, and then you can sign up with an authorized distributor and you can buy. Some authorized distributors have minimum quantities you have to buy, and others you can buy as few or as many as you'd like. It just depends on the distributor. Is the software the guy uses going to be compatible with Windows 10 on this system over here? I'm sure it'll be fine. The system's not that old, so everything on it should work with Windows 10. I would be surprised. SCD Keys is an authorized distributor? No, they aren't. Call Microsoft's piracy line and ask Microsoft piracy line of SD. You people believe anything. You know why I know they're a licensed distributor? Because it says on their website they're a licensed distributor. Wow, are you that easily fooled? Are you that gullible? So I'm not going to argue with you guys. Do what you want. If you want to go throw a brick through a window and steal diamonds, I'm not going to stop you. It's your karma. You live with it. You've been told, you know. You don't have ignorance as an excuse anymore. If you continue to justify your theft, knock yourselves out. I don't care. I don't support you, and I don't have to answer your problems when you have issues, and I don't have to bail you out of jail, so just do whatever you want to do. But I'm done talking about it. All right. Other questions? Other topics? The entitlement is insane. Of course I can do this. No, it's still illegal. If you have questions about a particular site, Google the name of the site with the word legal and a question mark and do your research. I think you're going to find it very eye-opening. Most of the time when the deals are very inexpensive keys, they're 99.9% of the time if they're not illegal, they violate Microsoft terms of service, which means Microsoft can deactivate the key at any time and you have no recourse. If I buy a PC from Kerry Holzman, will I get a legal key of Windows 10? Yes. I have to run a business. I can't risk making an extra $25 on the sale of a computer only to have Microsoft fine me $10,000. It's just not a sustainable way to run a company. It's not worth $25 to me to throw my company away. Darren Gillum says, hello from the UK. Hi, Darren. Welcome into the channel. I don't feel like I'm entitled. I don't care what you feel like. If you're tardy. I don't feel tardy. Oh, okay, then you're not. Weird. The very fact you said I don't feel entitled is the most entitled thing I've ever heard. Ever. They've set a new world record for entitlement. I don't feel entitled. That's hilarious. Sorry, that was funny though. I hope you were kidding. I hope that was a joke. Are postcards useful? Diagnostic cards that you can install in the computer? No, I've never found one that was worth anything. The human brain and knowledge far is superior to anything you're going to plug in and do your thinking for you. If you're the kind of technician who thinks you can just buy something that tells you what to do, you're not a tech. You're just plugging in something to do your work for you. So no, they're not as good as a human being that has knowledge and experience that can properly diagnose and use logic, again, experience, and process of elimination to solidify, the resolution. So if you're incapable of doing that, then take it to somebody who can do it for you, or replace the unit. That would be my advice for you. There's just, you're basically asking if you can buy a technician in a box that you can plug in. And be careful what you ask for, because then you'll eventually be available in a box and we won't need you for anything anymore either. Think about what you're asking for. Gary, I have a solid state hard drive from Seagate that's 8% fragmented and only gets 55 megabyte read speed and crystal disk. When solid state drives first came out, they were very, very expensive, whereas mechanical hard drives were relatively inexpensive. So what they did is they created a hybrid drive where they take a small bit of solid state memory and they use it as a cache or a buffer for your mechanical drive to give you the impression or the illusion of faster speeds. And then when the solid state drive gets overwritten too many times, it dies, that it's no longer functional, but you don't notice that as an end user. It's just everything becomes slower. By the time solid state hard drives came out, these hybrid drives, the prices of solid state drives had already fallen quite dramatically, rendering them obsolete the minute they hit the market. Why anybody would buy one is beyond my capacity of understanding. They're a complete ripoff, and my advice to you would be to replace the drive either with a straight, modern mechanical drive, which will be much, much faster than that hybrid, or better yet, get yourself a solid state drive. But a solid state hybrid hard drive is a complete waste of money and an utter disappointment, and was obsolete the day it came out. The technology just took too long to get to market, and solid state drive prices fell too quickly. So it was meant as sort of an intermediate gap to bridge the two price differences, but by the time it hit the market, that gap had been significantly shortened. So you never hear me talk about solid state hybrid hard drives. You never hear me talk about them because they're a complete embarrassment to the industry. I recommend you get rid of one as soon as possible. Replace it. 1 terabyte hard drives are as cheap as $35, and even that would be better than what you've got. To be honest, I don't think Microsoft is that bothered about so-called illegal keys being sold. Well, why don't you call Microsoft's attorneys and ask them? There's more entitlement. I don't think you would mind if I came into your house and took something you had plenty of, right? I can just come into your house and take what I want because you've got more than me. I don't think you'll mind. What a crazy, entitled, horrible, inconsiderate, thoughtless, and selfish way to go through life, to justify taking something that's not yours. Too bad. It's your karma. If you're looking for free technical support and you're not getting answers in the chat, go to techguy.org. I'm going to put that link back up here because it seems like I need to. Techguy.org has been around for many, many years, offering free technical support on a volunteer basis. And if you want to pay for technical support, I can be available for the right price. But if you're looking for free technical support, and you're welcome to ask here in the chat, but if you're not getting the answers you're looking for, go to techguy.org and you can ask all the free support questions on hardware, OS, Linux, Windows, Apple, whatever. It's all there for you. And take advantage of it. It's why it exists. What is the best size solid state drive to go on my Acer laptop? whatever you can afford, man. Whatever you can afford. I got a 2 terabyte solid state hard drive for $35. They gave you $35, or you gave them $35? If you gave them $35, you paid too much. If they gave you the drive and $35, I still wouldn't use it, but I would definitely spend the $35 on a non-SSHD. I would either put it towards an SSD or an HDD. And then I would take the SSHD and I would, I don't know, smash it with a hammer, use it as a doorstop. It would do all those things better. If you need Windows 10, just download them from Microsoft. You do not have to enter a key. Yes, I've demonstrated this a number of times. There's no reason to pirate Microsoft Windows. Ever since Windows XP, you've always had a free trial mode. And in Windows 10, the trial never ends. It just will not let you do some customizations. You can't set your wallpaper and stuff like that. You get a notification that pops up. You're not going to be completely protected from security exploits. You will be somewhat protected, but not completely. But yeah, you don't have to pay for it. It'll just run indefinitely with the notifications and warnings and lack of customization. But other than that, it'll work. It won't prevent you from doing any work. Somebody says, read the rest of what I said, like I'm going to dig through 8,000 messages. If you didn't put two things together, I'm not going to find it in this big mess. You'll have to retype it. Where can I buy Windows 7 Ultimate keys? You can't, not legally. It stopped being sold about 2 years ago. What you could probably do are buy refurbished computers from resellers that were off lease. You could probably pick the computers up at about the same price as the Windows key that's on them, honestly. You can buy Dell off lease business computers for probably $150 or $138 right in there, as I recall. You get a whole computer with the Windows 7 license for that price. And just throw the computer away and take your license and use it. That would be okay. It's sort of a violation, well, not sort of, it is a violation of Windows Terms of Service. And you're only going to have until January 14th of 2020 before support ends on 7. So insisting to stay with 7 would be like insisting on getting on the freeway with a bicycle. You're going to hurt yourself, but, you know. That's the way it is. So Francie McCool is mentioning pirated software. Francie, because I've seen you, I'm not going to block you from the channel, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you talk about the actual names of software that is you're effectively encouraging and educating an audience of what to look for if they want to go down that road. We're not doing that here. Please don't do that here. Don't mention names of illegal software or hack tools. That ain't happening on this channel. It's too much at risk here for me. It's very disrespectful to the consideration of what rests on my shoulders and the audience that I have. Corporations are watching my channel. Potential sponsors are watching my channel, and talk like that, you might as well just come up and hit me in the kneecaps with a hammer. It's not a nice thing to do. If someone requests laptops for a business, do you have a go-to brand? Usually Lenovo or Dell. is my opinion on refurbished laptops? I buy nothing but refurbished laptops. Never had a problem. I won't say never. I had a weird video problem that occurred about 2 or 3 years, but by then it was time to replace the laptop anyway. So, but they've been very, very good. I think refurbished items are actually quality control checked much, much better, because a human being has to go in and test a bunch of functionality versus just a standard factory QC, which happens pretty quickly, you know. So for the most part, I wouldn't hesitate to buy anything refurbished except some of the smallest electronics that can't be really worked on easily, like cell phones and tablets, or like a Microsoft Surface, something that's sealed closed or glued closed, I wouldn't buy refurbished. But everything else, televisions, refrigerators, appliances, laptops, computers, refurbished are generally good solid buys. And you know, if there's a good opportunity to save some money and it has a decent warranty on it, definitely pick it up. And if you can buy an extended warranty on a laptop, refurbished or otherwise, I highly recommend it. I don't normally recommend extended warranties. I do make the difference on laptops though, because they do cost a lot of money and they're more prone to damage. And they're very expensive to fix out of warranty. In general, if you have a laptop that needs repair out of warranty, it's probably financially makes more sense to just buy a new laptop than to pay to have it fixed. Because oftentimes when you pay to have it fixed, you'll be without it for quite some time, and when you get it back, it still may not be right, or it may just fail again in weeks or months ahead. So there's no real peace of mind that it's been repaired correctly or thoroughly. And only in time can you determine that, and then you're right back to square one, and you will have wasted all that money that could have gone towards a brand new, faster, brighter, new battery, you know, warranted laptop with peace of mind for a little bit more money. Jared Davis says hello. Hi, Jairus, or Jared. He just combined his first name and his last name for some reason. Roosevelt Welcome says, Mr. Carey, you are a great teacher. Well, thank you, Roosevelt Welcome. You're a good student if you think I'm a good teacher. Neil says he hasn't been to Traverse City since 1999. Yeah, I was just there a few months ago, and I love it. Traverse City is a wonderful place. Let's read my shirt. Traverse City. Traverse City. All right, I'll tell you what, you guys want to have a debate about the implications of piracy, and you want to continue to justify it. So I'm done with this discussion. I'm not going to sit here and have people continue on. The law is the law. If you don't want to obey it, that's your business, but we're not going to conduct that, and I think that I'm not going to be able to stop this conversation other than by stopping the stream, and we'll try again tomorrow. I needed to wrap it up anyway, quite honestly, but I've had enough of that discussion, and you guys will just insist on continuing to discuss it. So we're going to wrap it up, and I do appreciate everybody who's joined in and participated in the conversation on other things. Those of you who aren't listening to me and aren't respecting my requests, I'm upset, but I think I just need a little time away, and we'll start again fresh tomorrow. So thank you for watching. For everybody who's contributed, thank you for your contributions and your support. I do appreciate that, and hopefully we'll have some good news here from the client on ordering some parts, and I should have that news tomorrow. We'll follow up. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all again very, very soon. To all my moderators for keeping it civil in the chat, thank you so much for that. And one last thing, let's add a moderator right here. Okay, thanks guys, I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.